Okay, welcome people. I can see there are quite a lot of people that have joined in, ready to share their views. I'm very optimistic that we'll be doing more. We'll be more participatory today. Like we'll be participating more in the discussion. I want to see your questions in the question box, your comments, you know, because this issue we're discussing is meant to be conversational. This should be a place where we can come and freely learn, briefly get information on how to, you know, it's important to understand the effect of something. When you understand the effects, silent or not too very obvious effects on you, when you begin to understand it, then you know how to manage it. So this is where we learn how to, this is where we learn the effect, the impact of mental health issues at work and how to manage it, you know, if it's to avoid, how to prevent it, and if it's how to live with it and manage it and still be effective and productive at work. This program is Workers' Health, Mental Health and Safety, is a co-initiative, I mean a joint initiative of OSEC Legal Aid Clinic, that's Occupational Health, Safety and Empowerment Center, and Moments with Walieyullah, being led by my, you know, my very effective and efficient Walieyullah Adegoke. So today we'll be having a very important topic of discourse. I mean, it's something we started 2 weeks ago, and we're still going to go back to what we've done before. Because unfortunately, we lost the recording of the last event, but not a problem. It's an issue that continues. It never ends. It's a conversation that continues. So it's fine. We're still going to talk about it and still continue with that conversation today. So the question of today is, if it is, I will leave that to Wali. Wali is going to ask the question of today. Don't let me jump the gun. Anyway, my name again is Bunmi Jasmine Oluwagbemi, Bunmi Jasmine Omeke. So yeah, so I'll be leading this session on the legal perspective on mental health and safety, and Wali will be talking from the health and safety perspective as a seasoned health and safety practitioner. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. As we all know, our major purpose of having this discussion is to discuss about mental health and safety. Because, like my colleague said, it's a discussion that is non-ending, that continues, and we need everybody's contribution in order to have different perspectives. During the week, different people have come with their own their contributions. I sent some to you for the question of the day. The question of the day actually asks us that can you resign in a workplace that you are earning enough money, but because of the issue of hostility, or you are not feeling convenient or confident in your workplace, can you resign from that kind of workplace? I think I'm correct.
Yeah, I think very correct. Would you leave a job? Would you leave a higher paying job where you are unhappy for a lower paying job? That's the question of the day. So would you leave a higher paying job because you are unhappy there? Of course, what makes you unhappy on a job is hostility. I mean, an hostile environment, a job that affects you mentally, it affects your mood, it affects, I mean, it makes you less productive. You do not achieve your potential as you should. Would you leave that kind of place, yeah, for a lower paying job? I understand our economy. I understand the fact that money is a very important consideration in choosing where we work. In fact, being in the recruitment, in the talent management sector as well, I can tell you for free that most applicants, they want to know how much you are going to be paid for a job before they take the job. So if it's that important, then it means then it's important for us to also consider how this will affect your decision if there's an issue with mental health, if there's an issue with hostility in your workplace. Is money going to be a greater consideration, or are you going to be considering your mental well-being as a worker? Yeah, so that's what the question is all about. Yeah,
so that's the question for the day, and we want you to contribute. Again, for those that are just joining, the question is simple: can you leave a high-paying job because you are not convenient in that workplace? For a workplace that you are not happy with, your boss always bully you, your colleagues don't make you feel among, you are not feeling like you are supposed to feel like you are working in an environment, but they are paying you a huge amount of money. Can you leave that kind of a workplace? Can you leave that kind of a workplace because of that? That is the question of the day. So we want you to answer in your contribution. Remember, like last week, we promised that we have a gift that will be given to us by my co-anchor, Mrs. Bunmi. She's responsible for the gift. She's going to give us a book worth 10,000 naira. So we want you to contribute, to share your ideas, why we speak, why we talk.
I have something here for the best female contributor. So the ladies are not left out. I have something here. Is a key safety gadget for COVID-19.
What do I mean? You ladies like to do shampoo. Why not giving me? I mean, I don't have this thing. It's not good.
It's actually recommended. Like it's very fashionable. So and it really protects. I'm not trying to promote any product here, yeah, but it's very, very comfortable. Like I used it to church today, and it was very covering my nose. You see, I can't breathe into anybody, just like the face mask. So
yeah, I'm seeing some people here. They want to join the live conversation. I think because of the new Instagram style that they can be for, but as of today, we've not concluded. I and my colleague, we've not concluded if you allow others to join us on the live version, because I can see two people here want to join us on the live version.
Yeah, well, I think as the discussion goes on, it depends on how the tone of discussion go on. Someone might want to shape it a bit. We might allow, but it has to be vetted. For those that want to join us on live, I can see Mr. Ahmed and one other person that wants to join us. While the discussion go on, we will permit you to join us on live so that you give us your own part of the discussion. Remember, the discussion came to me. Can you leave a high-paying job because of the hostile environment? So now let's go to the discussion of the day. Let us discuss about this topic. So over to you, Mr. Bunmi. I know you, and congratulations on your new graduation. It was my birthday
congratulations.
So it was my birthday last week, Monday, actually. So it's a double celebration.
Wow, double celebration. Congratulations to you. So as a former HR now and as a legal practitioner, what can you tell us about hostility at work? Thank you. Over to you.
Yes. So a hostile work environment, by definition, is a workplace that allows unwelcome conduct and comments based on gender, race, nationality, religion, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other legally protected characteristics. You know, when you talk about legally protected characteristics, there are characteristics in which you shouldn't discriminate on anybody based on that. Characteristics that you have as a human being that you should not be discriminated against based on that characteristics. So an hostile work environment, really, in the legal, being defined in the legal way, in such a way that you can enforce it. Because the issue of hostility can be relative, you know. Another person can see hostility as a boss just scolding them. Anybody can just go and say, oh, this environment is too hostile, just because it's not going your own way. No, that is not what we call an hostile environment. What we call an hostile environment within the context of this discussion is what is legally understood as hostility. Yeah. So anything that affects or causes discrimination against these legally protected characteristics at work is, as it makes a workplace hostile. And it affects, what are the effects of hostility? I mean, an hostile work environment. It affects your productivity. It affects your self-esteem. It makes work very difficult. I mean, it makes work more difficult. There's, you know, abuse, some kind of sexual harassment. There's verbal abuse. Sometimes there's even assault. We've had incidences like that, especially this kind of job where, you know, a factory kind of setting, this kind of casual jobs where bosses turn to slave masters. So when someone does something at work, instead of you to follow a very formal and professional procedure at disciplining them, as calling them to order. They exploit very, very brutal, illegal approach, like calling the police to brutalize them, calling a common security, I call it common security because that's not meant to be their job, calling a security man to deal with a staff because a staff has done something that is not right, or has been involved in a misconduct. But there should be like an employee handbook that states the do's and don'ts of an employee within a workplace and disciplinary measures, and that should be followed. It shouldn't amount to, there should be no reason, there should be no basis why a workplace should be hostile, even at law. Now, going into legal provisions, how are we legally protected against hostility at work? Yeah, there are a couple of legislations against hostility, even though our major legislation on employment in Nigeria, I can say, even though it's there, I can say it's completely outdated. It's a law of 50 years ago, a British law of 50 years ago. I've really not done anything about it. However, that is not to say that the law does not protect us. We have in our constitution, is our constitutional rights, our law to dignity, yeah. Our law to dignity is there, yeah. We're meant to be protected and not to be treated like animals. Our right to be treated as human beings, yeah. And then we also have plethora of some cases. A very popular case I mentioned last week, 2 weeks ago rather, of Microsoft's and others versus Ejike Maduka, where the woman was, and her employment was unlawfully terminated because she turned down an harassment from a boss. So of course, she filed this legal suit against the company after she was employment was wrongfully terminated, and the court then awarded damages of 13 million about 30 million plus naira, yeah, to the what they call it, to the plaintiff. That's the woman that the employment was wrongfully terminated. So the thing is, also our industrial courts, they are meant to pay attention to international laws on, our conduct in the workplace, international labor law, and we are signed on as a country. We are signed on to some ILO conventions, which the industrial courts can as well use while enforcing or while pronouncing judgments, while adjudicating. So in some cases as well, the international court has also talked a lot about the ILO convention and its position in enshrining, the rights to dignity of workers, right not to be in a position of harassment or sexual, especially in the case of sexual harassment. That's the most obvious kind of hostility at work. We also have the criminal law of Lagos State. The criminal law of Lagos State is very vast on sexual harassment. In fact, it is a criminal act for a boss to sexually harass, or a colleague or anyone to sexually harass, which in most times you find that case between the boss and the subordinates, the supervisor, a manager, and their subordinates. So the law in Lagos, the criminal law in Lagos, is totally against that, and there's what they call, there's a punishment of fine or and imprisonment. Yeah, about 3 years imprisonment in Lagos State for that. Also, going on to the Employee Compensation Act 2010, it provides for compensation in the event of mental stress that is caused to a worker as a result of sudden, unexpected traumatic events arising out of or in the course of employees' employment. So how much that can be litigated goes into the facts and circumstances of the case, I would say, and as much evidence you have to show that indeed the incident at work has caused you mental stress and it has affected your mental health, your health as a person. I will leave Waliu to shed more light on that. I believe in the health and safety environment, there are kind of situations, when we in relation to health and safety that can actually cause mental health, and how that is treated in that environment. Thank you very much, Wali, for that time. So I'll leave that part over to you.
Yeah, thank you for that awesome contribution. We've learned about the legal aspect. For those that joined us last week, they would have gotten some message, and this is a continuation and a wrap up of what we are when it comes to from the HR point of view and from the legal point of view. So many things to learn from you, and I know that this discussion is not only today, it's a continuous discussion, because there are so many things that you said that are new to us that as safety professionals we also need to learn. And as human beings, we need to know our rights, because someone will be working in an environment where he doesn't feel comfortable, there's issue of hostility, but he doesn't know that there are laws that guides him, that protects him to be able to speak out and probably get a better environment to work. So
yeah, well, I will leave you to pause a little and maybe check the comments or interact with the people while I change over to my own Instagram, and then I think it has updated enough so I can come on live through my own Instagram handle. I hope that's okay.
Okay, no problem. And do you know what you can do is you can as well try to join now.
How do I get to that?
You can try to join now. Then we have 3. Then just take off this one that you have now.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Because of time, so that I want to make sure that we finish by 6 o'clock.
I'm listening to you. That's fine, Wali.
Yeah, I want us to stop by 6 o'clock so that we won't waste people's time. So, from the safety point of view, you know, when it comes to health and safety, we look at so many things. Aside from the issue of safety, we also look at the issue of productivity. Productivity in the sense that the major purpose why we have a workplace is to make profit. And in order to increase productivity, so many things are in play. And part of those things that are in play are the issue of having a hostile environment. Part of those things that are in play is the issue of having a hostile environment. That is the issue of hostility. In safety, there's what we call BBS. BBS means behavioral based safety. Most of the professionals here will understand what behavioral based safety means, and it has to do with the relationship between a worker and the behavior in the workplace, and how we can use the behavior of workers and the employers in the workplace in order to improve productivity. So when we're talking about behavioral based safety, is an aspect of hostility that we need to attend, because when we're talking about hostility, we're talking about human behaviors here in relation to the workplace. So there are so many things that makes workers to behave irrational and also make employers. Let us note, hostility doesn't stop with the worker alone. It also has to do with the employer. Sometimes, most times, the employer contributes to what makes up a hostile environment. To those that are safety professional, some of us will be aware that, you know, normally we have ISO 45001, that is Occupational Health and Safety Management System, that is ISO 5001. But recently, we'll be having an addition. Mr. Ihe once told us about this, and I think recently I saw one review of ISO 45003. I think it will be 45003. In that 45003, there will be addition of mental health. Before, we don't have mental health as occupational health and safety issue, but now they are trying to incorporate mental health into the ISO system for occupational health, which makes it also a point of importance for us to start. What are those things that contribute to a hostile environment in the workplace? Number one, it is the work stress. When a worker is being given too much work to do, when there is stress in the workplace, when there are no breaks between work, and workers are being given so much work to do beyond their capacity, it creates a sense of hostility. And because, number one, they have this feeling that this is where I'm getting money. This is where I'm feeding my family. I don't want to complain. Then this hostility starts building up inside them. And at the end of the day, especially when they're in an environment where they are the only one doing the major work, while others are not doing anything, they actually find it difficult to be able to be productive in that kind of environment, because they are working not because they want to work, but because they feel being forced to do the work, because the work is an overload. So work stress is part of those things that leads to hostility. Number two is segregation. When there's segregation in the workplace, segregation can be based on race, based on gender, based on age. So many things can lead to so many things can lead to hostility in the workplace when it comes to these things that I've mentioned. For a diversified company, organization that have so many people working with them, so many races, many religions, like a multinational company that have Yorubas, that have Indians, that have Chinese, they have so many people, multicultural setup in an organization. They have this policy that is called hostility safety policy, which makes them to be able to handle the issue of ethnicity in the workplace, because when it's not being addressed, someone who is working in let's say a Chinese person who's working in a setup that have more of Nigerians, there is this hostile nature that tends to come into play if it's not being addressed. So this policy comes into play to assist such a person to be able to work in that kind of environment. Why? Because, like I said, segregation is one of those things that contributes to an hostile environment. Another thing that contributes to another hostile environment is when there's no motivation. When workers are not motivated to work. When workers don't feel motivated to work, all those things also contributes to an hostile environment. When you workers they are putting in their energy, their strength, and there is nothing in return apart from their salary to make them feeling that they are working for the organization, all those things also add to hostility. So motivation is also a major play in what contributes to an hostile environment. And also not carrying the last person alone. When you don't carry the last person along, when I mean the last person, that is the list of the people of your employees in the workplace, you don't carry them along in the workplace. You don't bring them together as a team to work together as a team, because when we have a team and one person is isolated, definitely it will affect the whole structure of what we call a team. So not having control measures to address what can create loopholes. Just like the TIS model, like switches model, there's what we call the switches model management system. All those loopholes, when you don't have a control to prevent all those loopholes from coming into play, at the end of the day, you have what will actually lead to a hostile environment. Now, how can we manage hostility in the workplace? It's just a combination of what I just said. I mentioned the issue of work stress. When you have a workplace that considers the health and safety of its workers, when, let's for example, in a construction company, you have those that do Jacama operation, those that play phone stress, and do a system whereby there will be job rotation. You need them to understand that you value their lives more than the job. And there's a kind of job rotation where they rest at intervals, where they are not dehydrated. You give them water, you make them go through job rotation, you give them, you check on their health, they go for medical checkup, you pay for the checkup. All these acts of concern goes a long way in making the worker feel confident and not feel hostile that is just being used in the company. And at the end of the day, you have a preventive kind of environment. Another thing that also help you to manage your workplace is when you motivate your workers. Motivation can be in terms of money, it can be monetary motivation, it can be motivation by just clapping your hands, wow, good job, I love what you did.
I tell you, when you to add to that, a lot of people think that money is the only motivation. A lot of times, even when you are in a place where you are not highly paid, you find out that a lot of people stay longer in such places when they are appreciated by other means. Could be by promotion, could be by recognition of work, could be by acknowledgement, like just acknowledging that, yes, this person is putting in his best. And a few things, there are festive periods where people share things. I don't think it takes anything from any organization to always have that as a culture. I think those are the things that an organization can do to relieve, because the workplace environment, there can actually be friction. You can't take friction out because it has to do with human beings, people with different emotions, characteristics, different personalities coming in, and then there's work to be done. So there's that friction. It must always occur, but there should be a way to ameliorate, to reduce the extent of the friction, and that comes through all these sidekicks. I call them sidekicks, these side things that we can do to help ourselves in the workplace. So whoever you are, in the workplace, you have something to contribute either to add to hostility or to take away hostility from the workplace. You have a work to do. You have something to do. We always talk in the context of managers and supervisors contributing to hostility in the workplace. I think it's beyond that. Sometimes you even have the lower cadre employees that sit together to gossip. It gets so hostile, so unfriendly. You have a new worker that just comes into the environment and they are sizing them up, you're segregating, you're doing, I mean, if someone is working, is doing something, you're working as a team, you're not acknowledging the fact that it's a teamwork, you want to take the shine. Those kind of dirty politics that goes on in the workplace, they are human beings that contribute to it. So I believe that everyone who is involved in this conversation is either you are contributing to hostility, let's start from that, or you are taking away from it. You can't be on the, or you can't be sitting on the fence. So I like this kind of honest conversation. Let's have this honest gist. You cannot be sitting on the fence as a worker. If you are sitting on the fence, it's even a sign, it's a red flag that you are contributing to hostility by not doing anything about it. So is it that you are a victim, you are the what they call it, you are the valiant, you are the one perpetuating it, or you are the one encouraging it? You must have a role to play in hostility. So which side are you choosing? We are encouraging you today to choose the good side. So I just said I should chip that in. Waliyu, let me allow you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So thanks for the contribution. That is an elaboration. So you're talking about how to manage hostility. Part of those ways you can manage hostility is to value your employee, like we said. You need to value your employee, you need to motivate your employee. Let them feel valued for what they do. Let them see that you actually care about them. Create an open, clear communication. Promote open, clear communication among your workers. Let them have this open door policy where they can also bring in their ideas. They can also tell you how they feel about the job. All these things will make them to feel among, and they will want to work instead of feeling isolated. Another one is to build good rapport and trust environment. So all these things come, and also unsafe behavior monitoring and control. We have the issue of peer group. Peer group also leads to hostility. Like, for example, maybe some people feel that, okay, we are this kind of people. We have this kind of ideology. Okay, this person does not have it, so this person is not among us. So that person will feel isolated because he doesn't feel among. That's Islam. We are not. He doesn't feel among. At the end of the day, it creates an hostile environment. So it's the duty of the employer who employ these people to be able to manage the issue of hostility. As an employer, what do you need to do? An employer, number one, you can take courses. Short courses, you can take courses that you need to learn what hostility means and how to address it. Is it by making more fun? How do you bring up short games in the workplace? How do you bring up recognition programs? These programs that helps you to bring the workers together. So taking short courses as an employer will help you to be able to manage an hostile environment. Speaking to the HR too, like speaking to Mrs. Bunmi, for example, if you're working with a company, for example, speaking with an HR, I was seeking counsel to help alleviate the company's hostile culture, worker engagement. So you need to be able to put things in place that will help you to alleviate the company hostile culture. You observe that your workers, your colleagues and all, your employees don't interrelate. This one is in this department, this one is in this department, this one is in this department, and there is no interrelationship. Everybody is just keeping quiet in the workplace like they are enemies. Just come to office to work and they sleep. All those kind of things is not good for the workplace. And there are signs that can lead to a serious issue of hostility. But apart from these issues, there can be external issues. Some people can have financial issues that you don't even know as an employer. But if there is no setup, a kind of a management setup that can be, like, for example, having a mental health first aid clinic, like we've always discussed, is a very important part of handling hostility. Yeah. Some people, what makes them to be hostile might not even be what's happening in the workplace. It might not be the work setup. It might be that they just face some challenges, maybe personal challenges, maybe their parents, maybe they lost someone in their family, or something bad tragedy happened. Or it might even be that they feel that they are not being promoted in the workplace. It's something that you can know. But if you have that kind of a mental health first aid clinic, they can always phone. You can always ask observers to understand this person is always
Sure.
productive. His KPI is always high. Now he's having a low KPI. What has happened? Okay, these are the issues. This person, his mom died. Okay, how can we counsel him? How can we talk to him? How can we give him some days to get up? How can we take him out? Give him a free trip to this. All are those things that we can put together to relieve his goal so that he can be able to get over this social environment. So these are the things that can always help us to address issue of hostility. I think I'm going to stop there for now because hostility is very wide when it comes to the
It's a very wide topic. Like we're even going to talk about sexual harassment much later. I have personal. As a lady, of course, you know, I have personal experiences. Even when it comes to work environment, politics, and all that, there are even personal experiences, you know, and that some people can relate with. And some people on our, that are listening to us right now can relate to. And those who have, you know, been with me on my journey, they know, you know. So it's a very long one. And
I want us to. Are you there? Are you there? I want us to read the. Yeah, I can hear you. I want us to read the people's feedback. There's this long one I want you to up to hear. This one said, I work with this company in Beduleki. Despite the remote nature of the location that deprived me of my social life and relationship with family, they were at a very poor system. They had a very poor system and line of communication. Like they could pick anyone from any department to head you in any other department. Now, that's another issue. They will pick anybody to head anybody from anywhere. So all those things, those are in that department we feel like, wait, are we not working? Are we not productive? How will you bring somebody from another department to come and head us? How can you bring someone that was my junior, that was a junior in the workplace, to come and become my boss? All those things lead to hostility. So he said, no break from 7 to 7, same with night shift. There's less ventilation, eat rashes became the order of the day for workers. No one listens to you if you complain or suggest temporary mitigation at least. During renovation,
we're going to suggest something about, we're going to suggest a solution to this thing because I see this as a problem that needs a solution. And I'm sure there are people that are still going through this thing you are talking about. I'll let you continue. Yeah.
During renovation, we were left with one toilet for every worker, including the contractors, except the Indians. No one cares despite the complaint, yet they made sure everyone worked like there is no tomorrow. If you break down, they replace you immediately. Like it at a point became a normalcy. Like it at a point became a normalcy until I got another job and knew for once that there is something called 1 hour break in the workplace. I was shocked. Then I started to pity those I left there. Well, this is not in Nigeria anyway. This didn't happen in Nigeria because the person mentioned the States when I said to you the other time.
Okay.
The person, it's not in Nigeria.
But while you brought an incident that happened in Nigeria. No, that was workplace accident.
Nigeria one is worse. Nigeria one is worse.
Even there was hostility after the accident. And we're still dealing with one that has to do with even hostility to their family members. For Christ's sake, a worker got injured in your workplace. Even if you cannot help in terms of finance, good words should proceed out of your mouth. So if good words cannot proceed out of your mouth at that stage, then we can imagine what the worker has been going through. Even when the worker was not injured, we can imagine the unsafe condition, unsafe environment that the worker was exposed to. Now I'm going to say something. This initiative is partly sponsored and by OSEC, that's Occupational Health and Safety and Occupational Health Safety and Empowerment Center. Yeah, it was an NGO. It is an NGO rather set by Dr. B.F. Oluwagbemi, late Dr. B.F. Oluwagbemi, to address issues like this. And for once, we have been able to, create a department, a unit. We call it the Legal Aid Clinic, where we deal with issues like this. There are some people that their employments are wrongfully terminated, even as a result of this hostility at work. You have protection. There's a legal protection for you. Don't let anyone fool you that there's no law in Nigeria. There's no law for the people that are not ready to pursue it. Yeah? If you are ready to pursue it, there is a law that protects you. And there is an organization that can help, And that's what we do at OSEC. So I just want
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
okay. So I said we're even in partnership with Lagos State Safety Commission at the moment, and part of it is to help reduce workplace accidents in workplace. I mean, to to promote good health and safety practices in the workplace, especially
Just connect me. Just connect me. Connect me. We need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Why
Yes.
are you isolating me? As I connect me, we need to talk about this. You are linking with
no,
the Lagos
Waliyu,
State Commission and you're not connecting.
you are there to give
We'll
them
talk
the
about it later.
information. We are there to give them the information.
Outside, we'll talk about it outside. Not here.
No,
Yeah,
sure.
continue.
It's part of the whole thing. Like we're here to help people, give people enough information. It's not just throwing the information
Yeah.
at them. Also resolve their issues, resolve their problem. That's what everything is all about. You understand? So they should know there's a solution to these things, and that's why we're working together. You're an health and safety person. You're part of us. If there's an issue we need to address from the health and safety point of view, you are part of the organization. So I believe that it's not just throwing problems, issues out there. It's also telling people, okay, you know what? There's a solution. There's a solution if you're ready to have it. Yeah, so that's that.
So, looking at the time, we have 8 minutes more.
Yeah.
From the safety point of view, to round it off from our own side, I have something to say, which talks about safety training, about employers getting trained. The training should be rooted firmly in behavioral science. Behavioral science is a very part of health and safety that we talk about. It's without debate essential. That is behavioral science. Human behavior and the forces that shapes it primarily drives workplace hostility. What we are talking about here is that human behavior, the behavior of human beings are the things that actually shapes hostility. They are the things that they are the roots that talks about hostility. So if we are aware of this force, this human behavior and other forces, then it cannot help us to identify what are those stressors. Now we're talking about stressors, we're talking about prolonged working hours, working excess hours, unrelenting workloads, domestic and financial struggles. Like I said, it might not be inside the workplace, it might be outside. It can be domestic struggles, it can be financial struggles, it might be family issues, maybe husband and wife, they're having issues at home, or financial issues. It might be growing feelings of powerlessness, like we are feeling like, man, I'm the HR, but I can't even recruit someone. They have to tell me that I must recruit this person. I don't have the ability to recruit for someone that I feel is capable, but because of some power from above, then I feel powerless. All these kind of things lead to hostility. Then unexpected and sudden life changes, like this COVID-19 changes, emotional disturbance, substance abuse, several of all these situations. A combination of all these things are the stressors that increases the possibility of having a hostile environment. And that is where we are going to end it from the health and safety point of view. So I want you to round it up. It's like today, we have a good number, but our time went by. I don't know. My network here was giving me issues, so it has to reset. But all the same, it was a good event for today. I want you to end it up from the HR point of view and give us some safety tips for handling hostility from the HR point of view.
Yeah,
to
I just wanted to, from the HR point of view, it's just going to be a kind of recommendation to all of us. It affects all of us in the workplace. How can you deal with issues? Now there's hostility in your workplace. How do you deal with it? Because there's a part of prevention, there's a part of, okay, what are the effects? There's a part of what are the solutions. So this is what we're considering. How do you deal with it? You have an issue of hostility ongoing right now. There are a lot of people going through it right now. So this is a message to you. I have some few points, I would like you to think about. First of all, when you are confronted with hostility in the workplace, the first thing you want to think about is, am I participating in it? Am I an actor? A lot of times you can't take what we dish out. When people give negativity, they can't take it. They forget that they actually gave it, or they're actually the perpetrator. So it's good to take an introspective look back, check yourself, and make sure you're not contributing to it. Make sure that those emails and those conversations, they are not hostile, enough to generate more hostility towards you. Yeah. Then let the person who has offended you know. If it's possible, have a very civil conversation. It could be outside working hours, have a sit down, could be over drink, over lunch, a very relaxed atmosphere, just the way you resolve your domestic dispute in a very peaceful way. You can have those kind of peaceful conversation. Then also, if it persists, you can escalate the issue. You have an HR department, you have maybe a supervisor. If the supervisor is not the perpetrator, yeah, you can talk to the HR, and the HR can advise you on how to handle, and they can even take some actions like taking you into another department which you are able to cope, or taking the person directly, taking you away from the person. I mean, you're not reporting to the person, or you're not working with the person. So the HR might have some, steps that he or she can take to, reduce the situation. Another thing you want to do, if you are faced with hostility at work, is to have an exit plan, especially if the thing is really affecting you mentally. And while you're having your exit plan, make sure that every conversation you're having, you're documenting it. Yeah, make sure you're documenting every conversation, especially that has to do with official matters, formal issues. There's a reason for that, because there's really no fact until it is proven. You have to be able to prove anything you call facts, right? So it's very important to document, and you keep a record of events, and then find someone that they can support you. There will always be that one person in the work environment, and you have to be very careful while doing that. Ensure that it's not a gossip partner. Ensure that it's someone that is actually very sincere, yeah, that would tell you as well if you are wrong. Someone who is able to, a kind of mentor, in the workplace is very good. You can vent to them, you can tell them how your day is doing, how bad it is, and they can tell you how you could make it better. Then avoid negative colleagues, avoid negative conversation. They exist. You can't rule them out. The way they exist in everywhere, the way they exist in your neighborhood, the way they exist in your family, they exist in the workplace. The workplace is not some saintly ground. The fact that you came there to work does not mean that human behaviors would not reflect. In fact, it reflects 99%, because we are made to understand that we are 99.9% attitude. So whatever it is that we are doing or we are becoming has a lot to do with our attitude. So everybody brings their attitude to the workplace, and because of that, you have to be able to identify who to associate yourself with, because it's something that affects your mental health and disposition. So I would also draw the curtain from here and looking forward to more interesting conversation. I've not really gotten a female participant, except the kids.
You haven't gotten.
I've just seen this person join, this person join. I haven't seen comments in there, so maybe we'll postpone the gift as well. So our next
what I'm going to do is this. For our next program, for our next event, on the flyer, I'm going to indicate it there that prizes will be won. And we'll mention the prizes to be won. Or just say prize, so that when we mention that prize will be won, it will attract people to come to the event. I think that will also go a long way. So on the flyers, we indicated that prizes await those that contribute from the beginning to the end of the program. So I think that will be fine. It was a wonderful event today. Thank God that this time around we are not losing it. Though we've not ended it, but I believe that we won't lose this time around. Remember to follow us on our Instagram page. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and Facebook World. Remember to follow us on OSEC Legal 8 Clinics. Remember to always follow us on our events. It's always Workers' Mental Health and Safety Series, where we discuss about workers' mental health from the safety point of view, from the legal point of view, and from the HR point of view. Thanks for joining us today. Do have a lovely weekend. It's already weekend, sir. Do have a lovely day and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye. Thank you very much.
All right. Nice week.